Hi, I'm Mary Jo Feely with Fourth Dimension Healing in Stillwater, Minnesota, and I'm also the director of the Center for Crystal and Healing Studies, which is my online school. Today, I wanted to show you a few of my new arrivals. I recently went to a gem show, and one of the things I love about doing that is not only getting an opportunity to restock some of my inventory, but also taking a look at some of the things that are really catching my eye and then offering those to you. And it's interesting because I have an approach that really works with the system of elements, earth, fire, water, wind, and storm. It's really interesting that many of the gemstones and crystals that I'm going to show you now actually resonate with the earth element. And that's not surprising because we do need to have that anchoring and grounding effect of earth element in our life, whether we are doing physical healing or emotional or mental healing, or even working at a spiritual level to be more connected with divine source. All of those aspects of healing really absolutely have to be grounded in our physical body, in our physical lived experience. And so I see that that's really how earth element is so helpful for us. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you a few of the things that I'm kind of getting a kick out of myself, and a few things I'll show you that are just back in stock. So one of the earth element stones that I really like working with is petrified wood, because petrified wood, having been an organic living being with a circulatory system just like us, and then over time transformed into something new. I always get a sense that whenever we're working with wood, whether it's petrified wood or even amber, that those are some of the healing invitations that we're being really encouraged to take a look at. So often I carry tumbled stones, which is great. And then also I found a few of these somewhat larger pieces of petrified wood that can really make wonderful display pieces. If you work with crystal grids, that would be an example where you could place a piece that might otherwise perhaps be placed somewhere within your home or office space. You could place that within the center of your crystal grid and have a really wonderful grounding aspect to that. Here is another piece. This reminds me of a piece of wood that you might find laying on a beach or laying on the ground in a path if you walk through a park or through the woods. This piece of petrified wood makes me smile because it is so different than what we're typically used to seeing. You can see that what's happened with the petrified wood is it has become quartz, silicon dioxide, and so this one you can see really does carry a lot of the qualities of those whiter, lighter quartz stones and crystals that we may be more familiar with. So I just wanted to show you a couple of those more unique pieces of petrified wood. Bloodstone is a stone that is so helpful for creating this strong energy boundary. It helps us anchor to the earth. It helps us to really get a sense of what's ours and what is not ours. And when we're doing healing work, I would say especially when it comes to emotional healing, relationship healing, and that includes not only those people within our lives, but also the collective humanity, having a sense of where we can hold our own focused attention and not over involve or under involve ourselves in another's situation, issue, need, whatever. It can be really important for us to have clarity around that. And this is a beautiful piece of bloodstone, again, a form of quartz. It's got silicon dioxide. It has a lot of iron in it that gives it this sometimes some hues of almost like a red or an orange. And working with a stone that's a little bit larger can be a great way to bring those healing properties into a meditation practice. Another couple pieces of earth element stones that I actually have back in stock is first of all, this beautiful sphere of serpentine. Serpentine brings up this earth energy and weaves it up through our energy field, very much like the way you would see a serpent or a snake coil itself. It's got this kind of upward movement of energy. When we're working with earth energy, we do want to really bring it up into our entire energy field, and working with serpentine is a great way to do it. Certainly I carry tumbled stones. This again would be an example of a way to feature serpentine somewhere as a display piece within your home or environment. Again, working with a grid maybe, and having this as your center stone. I have talked in other videos about the varying shapes of gemstones and crystals and how that also influences the properties of the stones. You can certainly look out on my YouTube channel for that. Here, for example, is a Serpentine Heart. So we get the same properties of serpentine that we just had as we were working with that, looking at that sphere. And yet, because of its heart shape, it's got this kind of this archetypal, loving, compassionate manifestation of those particular properties. So if you're working on grounding, heart-centered healing, working with a piece of serpentine that's in a shape of a heart could be really beautiful. Speaking of heart shapes, there's one other stone that I wanted to show you that is an earth stone, and this is a piece of pyrite. Now, we're used to pyrite being sometimes in its cubic form, sometimes more tumbled. It's almost always going to tend to have little pockets. I love little pockets of mystery within stones. Here is an example of, again, working with earth element, much more grounding in a sense than working with the serpentine heart-shaped stone. Even though they both resonate with earth, they have different properties as well. So that's a little bit about the earth. And then actually there are a couple other stones I wanted to show you that I'm really happy to finally have in my possession. I consider myself a guardian and a holder of most of these gemstones and crystals until the person that they're waiting for presents. Here's a piece of sardonyx. Sardonyx is, again, another type of quartz. And anytime a stone consists of silicon dioxide, it's going to be a member of the quartz family. And this is a combination of onyx and a combination of carnelian. So you can see this beautiful banding in this palm stone. Again, lovely to hold, really solid, intentional work with meditation practices. Sardonyx really connects with that fiery energy, which is all about creativity and motivation and activation. And we are moving in the Northern Hemisphere into a time of spring and summer, which is much more active energy times. So again, working with a piece of sardonyx could be really helpful for you. And that is a beautiful palm stone. And then also have available some tumbled stones, which are great for laying on or around the body. Some of these larger pieces get a little bit uncomfortable. I do have some larger pieces at home that occasionally I will try to see if I can place on my body, and actually it's just too uncomfortable. So that's why I like to also work with the smaller tumbled stones. Working with water element is about soothing and clearing, and yet it's not always a nice calm kind of stream or a calm lake or a calm pond. You know also that there's a lot of power within water, especially if we take a look at how water creates electricity, how water can erode and wash away stones. And so there is this element of water that sometimes is very gentle and soothing, and sometimes we almost need to have a little bit more of a directional blast, so to speak, of water element to help clear away some of those emotional healing energies that we are in the process of clearing. So there are a couple pieces of rose quartz, which is actually one of the cardinal water element stones. Rose quartz has this beautiful quality of self-compassion and self-nurturing. And so if we are really connecting with loving kindness, compassion for ourselves and for others, working with a piece of rose quartz is helpful at any time. And then perhaps when working with a heart-shaped piece of rose quartz, it's almost as if we are doubling down, so to speak, on that compassionate, nurturing, loving kindness kind of energy that comes out of that heart shape, as well as the actual gemstone itself. Again, this is an example of a way you could bring in those qualities of rose quartz and the qualities of loving compassion and kindness into your home, environment, or workspace. And then holding a piece, intentionally working with a piece, for example, like a palm stone of rose quartz, brings those qualities into a deep meditation practice. And so we can definitely meditate with any gemstone or crystal. It does not need to be a large piece. And yet at the same time, sometimes if we can have a specific gemstone or crystal that is dedicated as a focal point and part of our spiritual practice, and setting it aside for that purpose can be really helpful. There are a couple things I just wanted to show you that are back in stock, one of which is finally I am able to connect up again with some more pendulums. So if you are a pendulum user or curious about that, go ahead and check out my online shop. You can always reach out to me if you're curious about how to use a pendulum. We can talk about ways you can learn that. And then shungite, actually it's an earthstone, but it's back in stock, some spheres. Shungite is the specific kind of carbon that really helps to clear electromagnetic distortions and clear the energy field, clear the environment, and it's just this nice way that it again radiates out in a wider berth of space to be able to clear that environment well. The final piece I want to show you is one of my favorite stones, and you know, if you've listened to my videos, you probably heard me say that about a lot of stones, but fluorite is actually one of my very favorite stones because it has such an ability to bring a sense of clarity and calmness to the mind. Perhaps that is a sideways way of saying that that's something I benefit from, being a fast thinker and a fast talker, that having fluorite around can really help clear those mental energies so that the energies that are ready to be cleared out are cleared out. The ones that are in the process of being reorganized and kind of, it's like defragging your computer, right? You don't get rid of everything, but you kind of get everything back in order. Think of it that way when it comes to fluorite. So this is a really lovely piece of green fluorite. If this is something you're interested in, go ahead and reach out to me. And it's not yet on my shop, but it may be perhaps by the time you listen to this video. So those were just a few of the new arrivals from my recent stop at the Gems show. And let me know if you have questions. I trust that you will continue to explore crystal and gemstone work as you bring healing into your life. For now, I simply wish you many blessings. Be well.